Near historic highs. Where are people feeling it the most right now?
So let's just talk about where inflation is at the moment, up 8.2% year over year. Our wages are only up 5%, so clearly not keeping pace. And we took a look at some everyday items. Right now, it costs the average household $445 more a month to pay for things like rent, medical care, daycare expenses. When it comes to food, which is a big part of the inflation picture, we've got dairy products and coffee, each up better than 15%. Going to cost you 17% more for chicken. And look at eggs.
So we have some breaking news. The IRS has released a big announcement on the next payments that you can be receiving very, very soon. The low-income households may receive smaller checks than expected due to changes passed by Congress. It's because a group of lawmakers are proposing that immediate action be taken just before the holidays. Now, here are some breaking news. According to the IRS, if you're expecting a tax refund in 2023, it's going to be smaller than this year's payment. Typically, you get a federal refund when you have overpaid yearly taxes or withheld more money than the amount you owe. And your annual balance is based on taxable income. It's calculated by subtracting a greater of the standard or itemized deductions from the adjusted gross income. The IRS said in a news release, refunds may be smaller in 2023, and taxpayers will not receive an additional stimulus payment with a 2023 tax refund because there were no economic impacts for 2022. The agency also issued the first round of payments, stimulus checks worth $1,400 per person, and eligible Americans can claim this unpaid fund on their tax returns this year. The average refund for the 2022 filing season was only $3,200, and now it's up nearly 14% from the previous year. Now, the IRS has also warned taxpayers not to count on receiving a 2022 tax refund by a certain date, as some filings may require additional review, which may just delay the process of you receiving the money. And generally, you can expect a faster refund by electronically filing an error-free return and receiving permanent payments, all via direct deposit. However, mistakes and other issues do occur, everybody. Let's not forget about this. Identity theft may hold up your refund, and filers claiming the Earned Income Tax Credit or the Child Tax Credit won't receive any refunds before mid-February. It's because the agency has worked to prepare for the upcoming tax season, and with plans to add more money, it's aiming to clear the backlog and improve customer service. And with nearly $80 billion in IRS funding over the next decade, efforts are part of a broader plan for agency improvements. States across the country have already sent checks or given tax rebates to people just in an effort to provide relief from inflation that is running near 4-decade high. About 20 states have already offered some form of relief benefits this year as prices for food, electric, and other essentials have skyrocketed, all since the world reemerged from the crisis. So many states have already budget surpluses. They passed budget surpluses thanks to vast federal crisis relief funding and increased tax revenue as economies rebounded from the crisis. In some places like Hawaii, Massachusetts, and Colorado, state law requires lawmakers to return the excess money to taxpayers. High inflation and gas prices throughout the year have prompted multiple state legislatures to offer tax holidays and other tax cuts as a form of relief. State-level stimulus is also typically much smaller than the checks sent out by the Fed during the crisis. Experts expect smaller stimulus and more limited eligibility to receive one, and will likely burn and blunt the inflationary effects of giving out cash in a time where inflation is high. And during the crisis, people received stimulus checks from the federal government, but they were just unable to spend them as many businesses were closed and events like concerts and leisurely entertainment wasn't just happening. It led to an increase in savings, and the latest round of stimulus offers a little financial aid and little breathing room for families that are pinched by inflation. And they could offer some peace of mind, especially if the money is put towards savings with an economy that could just teeter into recession next year. Some lawmakers have even suggested that a potential use for the funds would be for states to use the funds to pay debt back or invest into pension funds for state workers. States like Illinois and New Jersey have already struggled to provide adequate funding for the pension funds. I just hope that President Biden can do more for the people as he promised. He did promise stimulus payments. He did say that we can all get stimulus money if we need it the most. So I hope that President Biden keeps his word this time and sends out stimulus checks. But do you think he will? Tell me in the comments if you think President Biden will send out stimulus.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Can you comment on the Oversight Committee's report on the Washington Committee
Panthers football team, and how do you think the NFL should respond to what the investigation uncovered, and would it include, in your mind, Dan Snyder selling the team?
Let me just say that I'm a sports fan, and what I love about sports is I don't have to get involved in policy. It's all about the numbers. It's all about the numbers. It's interesting that they've changed their names to the Commanders. I quite frankly have not read that report, so I cannot speak with any authority on it. But I would not be an expert in that regard. I do. I'm excited about the progress our San Francisco 49ers are making. I'm a big supporter of the Ravens. In fact, I think I told you this, but when my husband was assaulted and in that horrible situation, when he came out of surgery, my son was the first one to talk to him when he could talk, and he said, Mommy's on her way home on the plane from D.C. And the first thing he said coming out.
Senator for Utah.
I ask unanimous consent that I, Senator Klobuchar, Senator Cotton, and Senator Paul be permitted to complete their remarks prior to the scheduled roll call vote.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I rise in strong support of H.R. 3843. This bipartisan package of common sense antitrust reforms would bring a whole lot of much needed improvements to the administration of our federal antitrust laws. First, it would update our merger filing fees to reduce the financial burden on the vast majority of filers. Second, it would implement the State Antitrust Enforcement Venue Act to allow state attorneys general to benefit from the same protection as federal antitrust enforcers, so that their enforcement actions can't just be transferred out of their state to more defendant-friendly jurisdictions. And third, this legislation would require companies that submit pre-merger filings with the FTC and the Department of Justice to notify the agencies of any subsidies or support that they receive from foreign countries of concern, such as China, Russia, and Iran. This will allow our antitrust enforcers to...
So stimulus checks might be sent out immediately. Democrats in Congress are putting together a new stimulus relief package. $100 in extra relief money could begin going out to millions of people this month. So watch the end of the video to learn how to claim your extra stimulus check if you haven't gotten one already. Amid rising inflation and high gas prices, the federal legislation to provide Americans with a fourth economic stimulus check is being worked on in Congress. California Democratic representatives announced that they are introducing legislation that would send eligible Americans energy rebate checks entitled the Gas Rebate Act of 2022. The legislation was co-sponsored by John Larson and Lauren Underwood. Now, according to Thompson, the legislation would send energy rebate checks of $100 to eligible people. That's for the rest of 2022 in any month where the national average gas price exceeds $4 per gallon. In a press release, Thompson's office said that the legislation would follow the same plan that many of the past economic impact payments have, as it would provide $100 for single filers earning less than $75,000 and phased out to $80,000, and $100 for joint filers earning more or less than $150,000. Now, filing your tax return electronically, everybody, with direct deposits should give you a tax refund in about 21 days, according to the IRS. If you've been waiting longer for